Hi, my name is Gus Olson. I've been meeting and flirting with women in real life for 11 years. And recently I was coaching one of my students who is actually in Chicago, USA. And I was guiding him in his approaches, in his real life approaches. And every 1 or 2 minutes, he would be asking me, hey, am I doing right? Am I doing correct? Am I on the right track? Because sometimes girls would have good reactions, sometimes girls would have negative reactions. But either way, every few minutes he would ask me, am I on the right path? Am I doing this? And even though on the surface level, it might seem like, oh, that is good because the student is seeking feedback and he's trying to get better, this is actually a detrimental way to evaluate your progress. And if you do it similar like my student used to do it, then not only you will measure your progress in not a correct way, you will also have a lot of stress. So here's what I told him, and here is what I want you to remember as well. And this analogy actually comes from finance. So in the financial world and the investment world, there are multiple types of investors. So you have on one hand what we call day traders and traders that are trading on a very small time frame. So they might buy a stock and they might sell it just a few minutes after or just a few hours after, and they're essentially trading on short-term fluctuations. So what they need to look out for the market is they constantly need to scout the market for news, if anything is changing, if there are some live updates, and anyone that has done that job will tell you that it's very, very stressful because you constantly have to look out for pings, for signals, and you're zoomed in, right? So that is one way of investing. Now the other way of investing is long-term investing, and if you know a guy named Warren Buffett, for example, he is a long-term investor. Now, the difference between long-term investing and short-term investing is that you're actually zooming out, and when you buy a stock, you hold that for not only a few days, you hold that for weeks, months, and years because you're investing in a long term. Now, not only is a lot less stressful because you don't have to constantly look out for short-term fluctuations, you also get much better returns because you're thinking about long term. So why am I telling you this? You just came on this channel to learn how to talk to girls. Why am I talking about finance to you? Well, the same way that you have long-term investors and short-term traders, you have people that do real-life approaches and they evaluate their results like short-term traders or long-term traders. And this guy, he was evaluating his progress as if he was a day trader, a short-term trader, because he was trying to evaluate and ask for feedback literally every 3 minutes. And that's not what you want to do for two reasons. Number one is that it actually is incorrect because you don't have enough sample size for you to judge the data, right? You need many more approaches and much longer time frame than 3 minutes to judge your data, because you might approach a girl and she might reject you, but maybe you're doing everything correctly. She was just not in a good mood, which can happen. And now you're gonna think, well, I approached this girl and she rejected me, hence I'm doing something bad, even though what you're doing is actually perfectly normal and perfectly good. So while if you, for example, approach 30 women and all of them reject you, well, it's very unlikely that they were all in a bad mood. And now you can probably say, well, I need to change something about my strategy. So that is number one, is you essentially have much higher set of data, much higher sample size. So if something is not working with your approach, with the way you talk, with how you flirt, with the way you approach, now you have much more data to correctly say, okay, this is not working. The second thing is that it is much more stressful to evaluate minute by minute because a girl might give you a positive reaction, you go up, you're like, oh man, I guess I'm doing good. And then she gives you a negative reaction and they're like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Was this my stop? Was it the way I stack? Was it the way I flirt? And it's just very stressful. And that's not something that you want to do. Well, at least that's not something I want to do. And that's not something that my students want to do. So what do you want to do instead? Instead, you want to increase the time frame in which you judge your progress. So what I always recommend is don't judge it hour by hour. Don't even judge it day by day. Judge it at least week by week. As I always say, you should do at least 30 real life approaches per week. If you're doing less, then you don't even have to necessarily judge the way you talk to girls. You just have to judge your way of dealing with your social anxiety, but if you're talking to at least 30 women per week, this is how you should be judging your last 30 conversations. Because if you judge 1 or 2 conversations, the time frame is too short, and the conclusions that you draw from those few conversations, they're probably not going to be correct because you don't have enough data. So you want to approach dating and also finance. This is not a financial channel, this is not financial advice, but my personal advice is someone who thinks long term and someone who analyzes their results long term. And I think this is also another even layer deeper issue with guys, is that they think too short term. Like, oh, well, now I feel lonely, so I'll try to get a few dates, and I'll just try to get some dates for this week, and then hopefully I can be done. But no, you got to think long term. This is not only about getting a few dates. This is about changing yourself as a human being, improving your social skills, improving your skills with communication with women, flirting, confidence, and transforming yourself as a person. This is a much higher and longer term of view than just, oh, well, I'll try to get laid a few times. That's not what this channel and what I'm about. I'm about massive transformation, transforming yourself massively as a guy, and obviously having a crazy abundant dating life with lots of adventures. But the way you get there is by having a long-term mindset, and out of that long-term mindset, you also need to have a long-term way of analyzing your results. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it allows you to improve the way you analyze your results. And if you want to get more feedback, if you want to work with me one-on-one and have me analyze your results the correct way, and also push you and guide you in the conversations with other students who are all over the world helping each other and who are all having their first dates ever from real life approaches, you can find out more information about my mentorship in the link down below. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.